Hello, folks. Thanks for tuning in today. Today I brought with me a book. That book is called Almost Christian. It's a book written by Kendra Creasy Dean. The subtitle is this: What the Faith of Our Teenagers is Telling Us About the American Church. There was a 3-year study done of teenagers and faith. And do you know what they found out across our country about the faith of teenagers? I hate to depress you, but they found out this, that teenagers are quote unquote fine with religion and fine with faith, but it is not much of a priority for them. And when they leave high school, for most of them, that faith that's passed on to them, it doesn't survive into their adult years. Why do I bring up this very depressing topic? Well, I bring it up because of this. We adults are responsible. Most teenagers' faith mirrors that of the adults who love them and their parents. And you know, there's good news in that, because here's what we know. We can do something about it. The faith of teenagers is ultimately a reflection of our faith as adults, and we can do something about it. Folks, thanks for tuning in this week. I'm so grateful. If you're watching on Facebook, would you do this? Would you check in on Facebook? Would you do that? Because we have a generous donor who donates $5 for every time you check in. And those dollars go straight to our Backpack Attack program that's feeding hungry kids right here in Alexandria. You could also, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications. And if you're watching at home on cable access, would you do this? Would you invite a friend to watch with you? Especially a friend who either has grandkids or maybe teenagers in their home. This week, our theme for the Daily Dose is Almost Christian. We're going to talk about how not only the faith of our teenagers today is considered an almost Christian faith by authors like Kendra Dean, but also we want to suggest that the faith of our country is moving more and more to an almost Christian sort of faith. In the book of Acts, there's a story about a guy named Paul. Paul, who started more churches in the New Testament than anyone else. Paul, who wrote more of the New Testament than anyone else. Paul, who was a firsthand witness to friends who knew Jesus. He had this experience where he was brought before a judge and before a king. He was arrested. And in front of King Agrippa, he gave his testimony of how he had come to faith. It's a dramatic story, but in the end, after telling this long story to King Agrippa looked at Paul and said these words: "Almost thou persuadest me to be a Christian." Almost you persuade me to be a Christian. We want to suggest, as Kendra talks about in this book, that's in a way what we've done with our teenagers, and that's the sort of faith that we're passing on to the next generation, an almost Christian faith. And here's the good news, though. We can do something about it. There was this national study that I mentioned as I began that was done on teenagers and faith. And the national study suggests that the faith we've left teenagers with is this almost Christian faith. It's a faith that lacks sort of a staying power, a conviction. It lacks the heart and soul of Christianity that made it so powerful to those who followed Jesus in that first century. And you know what? It can do the same for us today. And so I want to describe for you what this book shares about the faith of teenagers today and where it just might be lacking. And just maybe you'll hear a little of your story and the people you love in what I'm about to share. You see, the first thing about the faith that this book describes in our teenagers is it seems to suggest the faith of teenagers today is a very individualistic sort of faith. It's about what God does for me, myself, and I. You see, it's a faith that's void of Jesus' teaching about being self-giving, a self-giving love that challenges our individualism. You see, the teenagers today are lacking a faith that's born out of a desire to love God and to love our neighbor as ourselves. Instead, it's about a self-fulfillment, a self-actualization. It's about making me better. It's about making me happy and feeling good about ourselves. You see, the faith, as they studied teenagers today, was a rather individualistic sort of faith. The second thing they learned about the faith of teenagers today is that it primarily is about making us nice. That faith is important simply for moral formation, making us nice people. Teenagers approach faith like music or sports or extracurricular activities. It's a good thing to do, but really when it comes down to it, it is sort of unnecessary. Faith is simply a very nice thing. The last thing the book shares about the study they've done on teenagers is what they found in teenagers today is that their faith, the faith that we've passed on to them, lacks a sort of transformative power. Christianity lacks a sense that the Christian life is transformative, that the Christian life invites us into a community that shapes us and enlists us in God's plan to right this capsized world. You see, the faith we are passing on to the next generation, it seems to be lacking. Now, I'm sorry to depress you today, but all this has led teenagers to a faith that students believe is a good thing, but one that is not, well, it's not much of a priority, and it generally doesn't survive high school. Now, why do I bring this up? Because of this one point. There's good news. We can do something about it, because the faith of our teenagers is a reflection of those adults in their lives who love them, their parents, their grandparents, their neighbors, those adult mentors in their life. We can do something about it. And it's just the same with those friends you have down the street. You know the ones who are maybe sort of 50-50 on church. Maybe they're the Christmas and Easter type. Well, there's something we can do about that brings a whole new depth to the life of faith. And so this week, our theme is Almost Christian. This week, we're going to talk all about what we can do and how we can cultivate a deep and abiding faith, not only in our young people, but in people like you and people like me. I hope you tune in this week. Have a good one.
Even though I walk through the valley, you are near. And even though I know you are with me, I still fear. When I think it's over,